Hey everybody, sorry about the delay. Today I have one of my good friends, Conor Vanbuskirk, on the on this episode of Friends of Brry, and I just want to talk about what it's like being a business owner, what it's like to take risks. But overall, the guy I have on today, I can't really describe him because there's just so many ways to describe him. He's a man who does what he says. He's a man who takes risks. He's a man who makes things happen. And so I'll let him introduce himself because I don't have the perfect introduction because he's here. And so everybody, welcome Conor Vanbuskirk. Conor, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. We're at the end of a long day, but it was a good day. I own Upshot Coffee here in Cottleville. We opened roughly 8 years ago. We opened up as BB Chocolate Bar, and at that point, Brian worked for me for a little while, so we had a lot of fun doing that. Over the years, when we opened, we did a lot of different things. We were a full bar. We were a guest roaster for coffee. We were a breakfast place. We did a lot of different things, high-end chocolate, high-end ice cream. And through that journey, we kind of found that the coffee side was the side that we were really passionate about. And we thought we could do well and kind of expand. So spent the last 8 years kind of fine-tuning what this was going to be. And about a year ago, we made a call to change BB's to Upshot Coffee and go full coffee. And it's been one of the better decisions that I've made. And now we're able to expand it and open up a second location. And we've added a separate company with one of my friends that we do cold pressed juice and bone broth. We're kind of pushing through into some new areas, but they all kind of fit that daytime hours, quick serve, high quality food and coffee or beverage style of business. So that's kind of what we're doing now. We're having fun and we're getting to interact with the community and we're getting to grow our business and get to know everyone around us, and we're getting ready to meet a bunch of new people over by Lindenwood. What else you got for me, Brry?
So how did you become the small business owner? Like, have you always known you wanted to be a small business owner? And actually, here's a question for you. When does a small business owner just become a business owner?
I'll let you know when I'm not small anymore. I'm not really sure, but I know that I'm not there yet. My journey started with when I met my wife and I married her. I was doing mortgages at the time, and she was going to school, and when we got married, I'd always wanted to own a business. I mean, as far back as, I remember being a little kid dreaming about owning a car dealership. I was obsessed with cars when I was a kid, and I always thought it'd be a dream come true to own a car dealership, have access to every car, make a bunch of money. That really intrigued me. However, when I met my wife, she had a family background in the chocolate business. Her mom had been doing it for 25 years at that point. Her mom had worked at Mavrocco's and Fannie Mae and chocolate. And so when we, had kind of discussed with her family how we'd like to have a business eventually one day, her mom said, well, I think Dan Abel, who owns Chocolate, is going to franchise. And, I could call him and see if he'd be interested in franchising to you guys, and I'll help you run the store if you want to do that. And so I had no background in chocolate. I didn't really care that much about chocolate, but it was the only opportunity where someone was willing to give me a franchise that I wasn't really able to do on my own, and also I would have the expertise to teach me how to do that. So it was like, a lot of things that I've kind of seen in my life is, when someone offers you an opportunity, even though it's not perfect, if it fits in, the scheme of where you think you would like to be 20 years down the road, trying to say yes to opportunities that make sense for you, even though you maybe have a lot to figure out down the road. So we took that opportunity. It was me, my wife, and my mother-in-law. at our first location, and we worked that by ourselves and built that into something, and then eventually grew that to 4 locations. And you know, after we did that, and I kind of got really obsessed with chocolate, which was the odd thing, as I got into it, and it was just a way to make money. And I thought I would just grow it into 30 locations, and not really care much about the product, but just care about selling it. And about 5 years in, I got really bored with just stocking shelves and doing the same thing over and over. So I got really interested in the chocolate side, and I decided to teach myself how to make everything that the franchise company essentially sold us. We made about half of the stuff in our kitchen, but it was mostly coating, like dipping strawberries, pecan bark, pretty simple things. So I taught myself how to make truffles, and I taught myself how to make caramel, and I taught myself all these things in the kitchen because I was just, quite honestly, really interested and really bored. So I did that for a while, and then I realized that I kind of had a passion for creating things with ingredients that I was seeing used in other ways, and that didn't really fit within the franchise. So at a certain point, I started looking for vegan chocolate bars so I could open up essentially an entire place that was based around selling high-end chocolate. And that's how VB's came to be, was just, deciding about 5 years in that I needed to know more about chocolate, figuring out I was really interested in making things, and the creative side was actually more important than the financial side for me. And that creation or that passion kind of took off, and then there was really no stopping the desire to do new things and learn new things and be able to have an idea and turn it into something within a day. It was a great way to be somewhat impulsive. It's like, oh, I'm excited about goji berries. Oh, I'll go make something new, and then I'll watch someone eat it, and I can do this all today because it's interesting. So that ability to go from an idea to watching someone enjoy it that quickly was really interesting to me, and that was kind of the way everything evolved at VB Chocolate Bar.
Conor, are you there?
I'm here, bud.
Okay. I apologize. I think my internet is down today, and so I apologize for the interference there. Anyways, thanks for kind of going on that journey of how you now question, because when you're a small business owner like myself, like failure, it seems like you have to take a lot of risk, and there's a lot of failure that you acquire. But how do you feel about failure when it comes to risk, or when you had to make that jump from going from the chocolate bar to just upshot, but then even like expanding upshot to your new location, which looks nice, by the way.
I think failure is a part of your everyday life, and I don't think that's just business. I think every day I fail as a husband, I fail as a father, I fail as a son-in-law, a son, a brother. I think failure is just something that happens every single day. So when we try to protect ourselves against ever failing, it's kind of a false sense of security. I think we're kind of built to fail, learn from our mistakes. We find out who we are in the middle of failure. We figure out how to problem solve through failure, and I would say there's, a lot of small failures that happen every single day. What we try to avoid is, the really big failures. It's the difference between, making a snide comment to your wife that offends her, but with a brief apology and just saying I have a bad day, she gets it. Versus, the failure of, sleeping with one of your employees. I mean, there's different levels of failure, and I think you have to be comfortable with both of them. Although the small failures we try to, learn from, and the big failures we really try to avoid. But you can't always avoid the big failures, and if you're not comfortable with losing everything, and the reality of being in small business is, sometimes you might go under, and going under in business may mean you lose your wife, your family, your friends. Like, it's a pretty big risk, and I'd be lying if I said I'm real comfortable with it. There's a lot of days that I would really like to just go drive a UPS truck, make six figures, and listen to a podcast and deliver packages and get a paycheck in my mail and not worry about too much else, and go coach my kids' soccer team and just focus on being a great dad. But, I've accepted this risk. It keeps me energized for the most part. It keeps me interested. I get to impact people around me. I get to meet people that I'd never meet. And the community around it is really kind of what I've evolved to really enjoying is, those relationships you get with long-term employees, the relationships you get with long-term customers, vendors, the people around it is really what keeps you in it, or in my case, it would chase me away from it. Is if I just stopped finding purpose in what I did or the people around me, I think I would, not deal with all the headaches that come along with it. So that's kind of where I sit is you better be comfortable with failure, but, even if you're driving a UPS truck, you're going to fail at 10 things that day anyway. So, what are you comfortable with? I mean, how many times a day do you fail, Brian?
Oh, a lot. I fail a lot. And it's, there's, oh my goodness, there's just like, there's so many times that I just missed the mark. It's unreal.
It is. It's just, you gotta.
Yeah. I hope I don't.
You gotta accept it and not let it define your day. I mean, you just gotta figure out how you can take disappointments, failures in stride. Look at your part in that, because failure goes wrong when you try to blame everyone else. If you can look at a failure and understand how that traces back to you, it's a really powerful thing. If you look at a failure as someone did something to me and it's not my fault and F the world, everyone's stacked against me, then you probably have a real short road in front of you of how long you'll be successful. So we try to just turn the big ones and the small ones into learning lessons, say, oh, I dropped the ball there, my bad, let's move on and make it right and learn from it and just try not to do that again. And I think that's my theory with being a husband, a father, anything, is it's, do the best that you can, hope that people understand that you're always trying to make the right decisions, and sometimes they don't go as planned or you miss something, and you hope that your character and everything you've built the last 20 years speaks for it. And in my case, I've been, I have great people all around me that appreciate what I do, and little things don't get in the way of progress.
I tell people a lot that business is like baseball, right? You have to get comfortable with taking risks. You have to be comfortable with people telling you no. You have to get comfortable with having the craziest ideas and not having a whole lot of people on board. But the reason why I say it's like baseball is because that failure is essential. Because when you notice one thing doesn't work, it's not, oh, it's done. It's like, okay, how can we make it work? And like so many times, like in life, we just think if it doesn't work, it's not there. And the spirit that you have to have as an entrepreneur, small business owner, even the guys at the top of businesses, is you have to be willing to guide the yeses and be willing to go and search and like not wait around for anybody. Say, all right, I'm going to not accept a no. It may be a no there, but there could be yeses, and like continue to scramble around and actually get out there and like actually make the idea work.
Well, too,
I'm
I think
sure
a lot
also
of times,
you're having a lot of it's not a pretty task when you're trying to change a brake shop into a coffee shop.
No, there was a lot of failure in that. I mean, it took us well over 2 years to get that property. And, there was, at one point, we were literally 3 days away from closing before it got pulled out from underneath us. And so even the things that in my world that look like a successful thing, a lot of times there was, 2 years of failure involved in that. And, a lot of times through that process, you give up on something and you find peace with just, it's not meant to be, it's not the right time, but you don't necessarily give up on it, and you keep the dream alive, and then finally something happens and breaks, and, it comes through. But, for me in the brake shop, I'd given up on that project, probably 3 times, and just to come to the peace of the fact that it just wasn't meant to be. And then finally things broke the right way. We got the right people on board and we were able to get it done. But I mean, it was 2 years of extreme frustration, disappointment, anger, missed opportunities involved in just that one thing. So, that's the thing, is it definitely impacts you personally, financially. The way that the successes also can make your day and make you really proud and make people ask you questions and tell you they're proud of you and tell you you're doing a good thing, is the same way that, when a project that's 3 days away from closing that you told people about goes away, the sadness, the disappointment, the heartbreak, the feeling like a fake, a failure, all that stuff with things being out of your control, the highs and lows are always there, and you're just trying to mitigate how high or low you get with each thing so you can keep your focus on the end goal, which is to make it bigger and better and, better for your employees, better for your customers, better for any investors or shareholders you have. And, sometimes you're not really sure how you're going to get there, but you just keep pushing forward. And who knows, tomorrow, maybe the whole world falls apart. I lose everything. And, I'm driving my UPS truck. You really never, that's the thing. Like, who could have predicted coronavirus? Like, I've been through 3 or 4 meltdowns now in my business career where the world's fallen apart, and it's just like, you never really know when that's going to happen, and you just figure out how to survive it, get better in it, use it to your advantage if you can, and not sit there and feel hopeless and just close and say, sorry, we tried. We just stayed open. We completely changed our entire business model. We changed everything that we did. Our customers responded and kept coming, and we did great. But I mean, no one can predict that there's going to be a worldwide pandemic and they're going to tell you got to close your doors for two months. I mean, it's crazy. And you got to wait for that. You got to be expectant, prepare, and then react.
So I think one of the big questions I want to know is how do you get people? I mean, living in St. Charles, I love it, but it seems like people kind of like run away from my crazy ideas, And so I just want to know how you get people, or how, for any like business owner that's struggling to communicate their ideas and get people on board, what is some like words of encouragement, or how have you gotten people on board with what you're doing? I mean, even in your marriage too, man.
I think it's open communication. So, for instance, when we opened up VB's, you were here, you were a big part of that. You were part of that whole crew that was really present when we first opened due to our friend group. And, the bar was packed from day one. And, doing third wave coffee, which is essentially light roast, single origin, pour overs, focusing on every aspect of that coffee, we could barely give it away. I mean, we spent 3 years just explaining to people what coffee was. And if we had not had the bar attached to us, we would have closed. So, we closed the bar a year ago, and that was one of the best things I ever did. But in reality, that mistake is what kept BB Coffee in business long enough to get to Upshot. So, you know, sometimes our mistakes are there for a purpose, and a lot of times you don't understand. Looking back, there's been a lot of opportunities in life where, I've missed out on something that I thought was going to be the greatest thing ever for me. And, a year later, you look back and you go, thank God that didn't happen. So a lot of times, even when we miss an opportunity and we don't make it up, if you sit around long enough and you kind of watch, oftentimes you find out that, maybe someone was looking out for you, and the reason you missed that opportunity was it was the best thing for you, even though you didn't understand it at the time. So for me out here, it's just, we spend a lot of time educating, and, we're not pretentious about it. We're interested in getting people in here to experience it. And if that means that they want to know everything about an Ethiopia natural and they want to get it on a pour over, that's awesome. We're here to do that. And if you want to come in and get a nice honey lavender latte and you don't want to know anything about that coffee, we're happy to do that. Because at the end of the day, what we've kind of come around to is that it's really about the people we collect and the relationships we build, more so than, who's the biggest coffee nerd around. It's, we are here to serve our customers within the realm of the way that we're accepted at doing things, but we don't dictate to the customer exactly how they should have it or like it, because, they're the customer. We're taking their money. So we need them to understand that we appreciate the fact that they choose to spend their money in our shop, because there's more. So, educate and appreciate, and be patient.
Educate and appreciate. I like that. So real quick question. Is the customer always right?
No. And, and quite honestly, there's been times where, and it's not very often, I got to say, like in Cottleville, most of our customers here, I would say 99.9% of the people we come into contact on a daily basis are just kind, genuine, happy, nice people. Like, our staff gets treated exceptionally well. So we don't have a ton of problems with that, but I have been in situations where sometimes the most important thing you can do is stand up for your employee, even if that means losing that customer, if it's clear that, your customer is getting abused or your employee is being abused for no reason. And so, I have no problem telling a customer, that's not the way we do things. I'm here to protect my employees as well as my customers. And if my employee has done nothing wrong and you're going to treat him like a piece of shit because you can, then we don't need you here. That's the $5 I can lose. So, it's a balance between your employees never reacting to a customer in a way that is inappropriate, even if they're being talked poorly to. And it's also a balance of going, you're my employees, you're my family. I'm not going to let someone just be an asshole to you because they think they can. So that's kind of the way we play it. But we don't have to. I quite honestly, maybe twice in 8 years, have had to actually do something for someone on coffee. Now, the bar, we had more issues because you have alcohol involved, and that is, part of the reason I wanted out of it was it's just a different crowd, and, people make different decisions when they're, 3 to 6 drinks in. So, but on the coffee side, it's pretty simple. People are pretty nice, and our employees are really nice, and we spent a lot of time trying to build the culture for what we expect out of everyone here. And it's pretty strict now in that we treat you fairly, and we ask that we be treated fairly. And outside of that, we're here to serve you.
I think that's really cool that, and I will back that up. I think that when it comes to your employees, I think you do treat us well. When I was working there, you still do treat us, even the people who've left, still treat them like family, still interested in what they're going through. And you're right, you do have to have that balance between the employee and the customer. And so sometimes the customer is not going to be right, sometimes the employee is not going to be right. But you got to be willing to have that. And I think that's something that you do very well. And I just want to say that I appreciate that about you.
Thank you, Bob.
So, as we're kind of going on here, Um, for coffee, what do you like most about coffee?
The community. Absolutely. I love the people that come in here. I love the fact that we have regulars that I've gotten to know like family. Some of my really good friends now, I would have never met had they not come in here for 6 months straight to where I started a relationship with them. The ones that I don't hang with outside of here, just seeing them 3 times a week makes my day better. So, I mean, really, it's what I love about coffee is I love that we're surrounded by, from my experience, generous, thoughtful, kind people. And, I love that they treat my employees like family. Like, even during this latest coronavirus, crisis when, quite honestly, I thought we might have to shut down for 2 months because I really didn't think we could. I didn't think it would be viable for us to go 100% curbside. I mean, people out here did not use delivery services. They did not order from an app on their phone. They came in, they ordered, and they hung out. So I really thought, well, we'll go to curbside for a week or two, and then, we'll shut it down until everything goes back to normal. And what I found was that our customers are so loyal and they care about us so much that they went directly to the app even though they didn't want to necessarily. They waited longer for drinks because we were working out all these kinks. They tipped extremely generously to take care of our baristas and our kitchen staff. And these are people that are in the middle of not maybe knowing what the crisis is going to mean to them. But in the middle of that, the kind of people we deal with, we're showing up, ordering twice as much as they normally would, and tipping twice as much as they normally would. So that's what I love about it is, we genuinely care about our regulars and our customers, and a lot of them feel like family. And, we feel that warmth back from them. I mean, it was really cool that they just wouldn't let me shut down. They immediately started blowing the doors off this place, and we had parking lots full of people, and they were waiting an hour for a coffee because we weren't really set up to do curbside, so we had to work out a lot of kinks. And after waiting an hour for a coffee, they thanked us for bringing it to their car, and they tipped us twice as much as they would, and they just said, we're not leaving you and you're not leaving us. And that meant the world to us at that time. It still does. I mean, I think if I sold screws and bolts, no one would really care. But we're in a relationship business, and that relationship is extremely valuable.
And for your
What was the question?
and for your beets and broth, what do you love about that? And I've actually tried some of your stuff, really good. I feel I was asking about beets and broth, what your favorite thing about that is, and if you can welcome people back into kind of that side business that's within the upship.
So that business came about. We had a regular here that I'd gotten to be pretty good friends with, who was an executive chef who would open up restaurants all over the country, extremely talented. He was working in, food sales and was taking care of an account here for me. And, he had been having meetings with someone else that owns a restaurant here in St. Charles for on and off for a few months. And, they stopped meeting, and I saw him again. And I said, well, what was that all about? What were you meeting for? And he goes, man, I got this concept that I'm passionate about, and I want to do it. I'm just trying to find someone in the kitchen space and do this thing with me. I said, well, what is it? And he said, it's called Beets and Bones. And I said, well, what are you going to do? And he said, well, it's bone broth and cold pressed juice. And I need a kitchen and a steam kettle and a hood to do the bone broth correctly. And I was trying to work out a deal with this guy to be able to use some of his kitchen and start to produce this stuff on the side and work my full-time job, but get back into doing something with food. And, when he approached me with that, I had made the decision to close down the bar. I hadn't told anyone yet, but I knew that we were likely closing down the bar, and we were going to do a transition where Upshot Coffee would just be Upshot. And so at that point, I had been through a bunch of injuries. I'd tibial plateau fracture. I'd blown out my elbow. I'd done a bunch of stuff to my body just through sports, and I'd really kind of through stress and anxiety and injuries and bad eating and being overwhelmed with small business. I'd really put on a lot of weight, and I just wasn't healthy. And so I decided that part of this redoing our business was going to be to free me up to make good decisions on my health in my life. So it was kind of the perfect timing where he had a great concept. I highly respected him. It was an easy thing to fold in. I had the space, and I knew that if we could sell juice and broth, one, we'd have another concept to eventually grow, which excited me because I don't really foresee myself only doing Upshot the rest of my life. I foresee myself getting into other concepts and being able to create and experience new things. So, and it was an easy thing where we can juice and make all the broth ahead of time. We can bottle it. It can go in the fridge. It ups our average sale. The baristas don't do anything. So from a business standpoint, it was really good too, because we were able to offer something that was lacking out here. There was no cold pressed juice. There was no smoothies. There was no bone broth. It was a simple item that we could upsell without any labor. So, you know, if you come in and you order a oat milk, brown sugar vanilla latte and a breakfast sandwich, there's a decent amount of labor in getting that all ready and packing it up and getting you out the door. You know, that's probably a 5 to 10 minute process to do all of that. Whereas with the juice, if you come in and you buy a Peruvian Sun and hand it to my barista, that transaction's over in 3 seconds. So efficiency wise, it was brilliant for being able to up our average sale, create another benefit for our customer, and at the same time have another concept that we could slowly grow through Upshot until it was ready to be out on its own. Plus, with my dedication to healthy, surrounding yourself with, you know, fruits and vegetables and people that are passionate about it certainly helps out. So we did that, and it's been a huge success. I mean, it's been one of the best things we ever did, and I get to work with a guy that I respect, that brings a lot to the table, that works hard and is teaching me new stuff every day operationally. And, you know, I just feel very fortunate. That was another opportunity where, you know, I wasn't really sure where I was going. I was not healthy. I was stressed out. I was getting ready to make a huge decision that I wasn't sure how people were going to react. And instead of running from the opportunity, I just said, that might work out. Let's go with it. So, you know, there was 2 opportunities I've discussed now that came in front of me, and I think anyone rational probably would have passed them up and just said, well, this isn't the right time, or I don't know enough about that, or, you know, whatever excuse people use. And we were able to say, let's go with that, gamble on it. And, you know, so far they've worked out okay, but, you know, I could have easily passed up on both of those. I don't even know why I said yes. It's not like I'm that smart. I just, you know, said yes, and those 2 seemed to work, and I got lucky so far.
I mean, sometimes you just got to say yes.
Yeah, but then the problem is, if you say yes to everything, you're really screwed. You got to say yes, but you can't say yes too much. You gotta find a lot of bad ideas too.
You got to find the big yeses, right? Like, it's just, you have to. It's all about that balance, you know. Like, and I think that kind of sums up like I talked today. Is like, you know, you have to have the balance between employee and customers. You have to have the balance between, you know, work and home. You have to have the balance between, you know, being healthy but also running a business, which is extremely stressful. So it's just, yeah, it's kind of like an oxymoron. Like, oh, hey, we're a healthy company, but hey, just know I'm stressed out all the time.
Right, and you know, one thing I always tell people too was, you know, if you're looking to jump into this, and let's say you have a significant other, whether it's a man, woman, whatever it may be, but you're with someone in a relationship and you share bank accounts, and you know, you're building this life together. To be able to take these kind of risks and deal with this, you absolutely need the right person at home. You know, because if you don't pay yourself for a month, you don't know when you're going to pay yourself again. Work has taken over your life and you're missing things because you just got to hold the ship upright. You're missing family dinners. You're missing all these things. If the person that you share your life with isn't the right fit for that, you're done, either in the marriage or business. I mean, that's the other thing is when you talk about the balance of family, if I wasn't married to the woman that I was married to, I don't think I'd be married or have a business. I would have one or the other, but I probably wouldn't have both. She is, in my case, it's a woman, and she has stayed with me through a lot of really, really challenging times where I just didn't have answers, and, just putting one foot in front of the other. And, she stuck with me. She supported me. She stayed with us. We've got two beautiful boys that are, great. And she's probably carried a lot more weight than she planned on carrying when she got married and had kids, but she's done an incredible job, and she supported me well through it. Even, when I really didn't know where it was going. So I always tell people that are looking to get into business, you better make sure whoever's on your team is a ride or die. Because if things go bad, the last thing you need is, if you're having a bad year or a bad month, the last thing you need is someone that's always looking over their shoulder for something better, looking to make your life harder when you come home versus make it easier, not understanding why sometimes you're not there. It takes, in my case, I can't speak for everyone, but in my case, I'm not that smart. So, I've really had to put a lot of work and time and energy into this. And sometimes I make other sacrifices to do so. And I'm not sure that's the right thing or not, but I know that's the choice I've made, and she stayed with me, and we built a pretty cool family out of it. But I think most rational chicks would have left me a long time ago.
I personally know Stacy, and she's a wonderful gal. Hey, if you're done with her, I'll take her.
No,
I'm kidding.
At this point, we've made it. We just celebrated 16 years, which I thought was 17. Because here's the other thing: is I can tell you minute financial details from 10 years ago in my business. I don't know my kid's birthday. I think they're 12 and 14. I forget anniversaries because there's a lot of things clogging my head, and sometimes that stuff gets missed. So I thought we'd been married for 17 years. She has since informed me that it's 16 years, but we've been together a long time, and we have been through some ups and downs, man. And it's finally, after 16 years, all starting to make sense. And there's been marriage counseling involved. There's been all kinds of things, because that's the reality. Is if you run a business, it's messy, and you got to figure out, when you need help, who to ask, and how to have enough humility to go to someone and say, listen, dude, I'm lost here, man. Tell me what I should do, and accept help from other people, and really pay the same way you pay attention to your business, and you can feel your employees all starting to turn over, or the vibe isn't right. You got to pay attention at home too, and figure out, when you need to address things, and when you need to be more giving, and honestly, go get counseling. I've been in counseling multiple times. I've been depressed multiple times. That's what business has been for me so far. Is it's been real hard. It's been really rewarding too, but it's not all sunshine and rainbows. There's sometimes you look around and you go, I just don't know if I got another 15 years of this. And then, the next day you have a great day and you go, I got 50 more years of this. So, you're just always trying to stay in the middle of, how do I keep the people that I care around me close, and how do I continually work on those relationships so that, I can be as rewarding to them as I feel they are to me. But it's been hard.
Great words. I like that. I mean, you got to be prepared for the roller coaster, and I don't think the roller coaster is bad. I think when we don't know how to manage that roller coaster of the highs and lows, and if we don't have somebody in our life who, it could be a very lonely life if we don't have somebody who supports us and understands, the highs and lows, and helps us manage it. It could be a very lonely place. And so I hope everybody out there who's experiencing the highs and lows and kind of managing it, that they have a partner that is extremely, dedicated and rooting for them. And I'm glad you found that. And I think your family's beautiful. And I still thought your boys were 9 and 10.
They might be. I really don't know.
We don't know.
I know Conor Lane is starting his freshman year at Howell next year, if there is such a thing as school anymore. And Oliver, who's my 12-year-old, is starting middle school, if there is such a thing as middle school next year. So it's a big year. Oh, wait, no. Oliver started middle school. Never mind. He's starting 7th grade, not 6th grade. So there you go. There's an average day for me.
There you go.
But they are. They're awesome.
Yeah, they are. So as we're trying to wrap this up, I want to say thank you for your time. But before we go, what are 3 things that you can encourage people in life? 3 things to encourage people in life.
I would say have a purpose. Don't just do stuff that you're not sure why you're doing it. Have a purpose. Even if you're stuck in something that you don't understand it, have a long-term goal where that's serving its purpose to get you to the goal. So even if your goal is to own a coffee shop and, you're working in a corporate job or something else and you hate it, but you're banking away $10,000 a year and you're sacrificing now to get to your end goal. Have a purpose, have goals, have dreams. When those dreams don't pan out the exact way that you thought they might, be willing to bounce back, be humble, be grateful. Humble, grateful, and have purpose.
I like it. I like it a lot. Well, thank you very much, Conor. And if anybody is in Carterville, Missouri, please swing by Upshot Coffee, or you can download his app on the Apple Store and Android Store.
Yes, sir. Upshot Coffee. Download it and start ordering stuff, and keep my babies in shoes.
And then also be on the lookout for his new location once all the coronavirus crazy goes, and follow the story of how a break shop is becoming a coffee shop. I think it's a beautiful story, but most of all, thank you very much for being on here today, Conor. You're a man of virtue, and I wish you the best of luck. And please continue to be my friend. I hope I don't lose that.
I can't afford to lose any friends. I'm grateful anyone's friends with me. So you can bet I'm going to keep you close. I've appreciated your friendship. I've appreciated your business. I've appreciated even something as simple as me and you talking on Facebook Live and getting to share our story. I appreciated you coming on our podcast and giving us your time. So thank you, man. Appreciate you.
There you have it, everybody. Please remember to check out my friend Conor Vanbuskirk and download the Upshot app. And if you're ever in Carterville, just swing in there and just give him a friendly wave, and he might have a conversation with you. And just remember to build those relationships, have dreams, have goals, and do a lot of wonderful things in life. I'll see you next time, my friends.